morning. My name is Bridget Plochet, and I'm one of the district supervisors in West Feliciana Parish. Today we are going to meet with one of our principals here in West Feliciana, Ben Nikes. He has been a teacher, an assistant principal, and now a principal of our middle school. We observed Mr. Nikes with a group of supervisors and teacher leaders. And what we're looking for is the way he's giving feedback to his teachers. So in order to be a highly effective principal, we want that collaboration there at all times between Mr. Nikes and his teachers. So when we go through a classroom in a walkthrough, we set specific goals for that teacher. But we also watch the feedback that Mr. Nikes gives to that teacher. And then we can collaboratively talk about the feedback that we would offer the teacher and that we would offer Mr. Nikes so that he can make that teacher a better teacher for that classroom.
The Compass Leader rubric really focuses on certain aspects of school management. And while we know that all the other things that encompass being a principal are important, they're not on that rubric sometimes, and we can't allow ourselves to focus 80% of our day on things that don't deal with instruction or deal with student achievement. And really, when you look at it through the lens of that Compass rubric, you refocus your day, you reorganize, you delegate other issues, and you're able to really focus on instruction and be an instructional leader. Good morning, Ms. Plochet.
Good morning, Mr. Nikes. I'm so glad to be with you today. In our last conversation 2 weeks ago, we discussed that we would focus on the Compass rubric domain 3 today. We know that research states that there's a direct correlation between a strong instructional program and an increase in academic gains. It is vital to our school leaders that they support the staff use of data to identify student needs. I see that you've come prepared with your dashboard, so I'll let you discuss some of your current data.
Sure, absolutely. At this time, we're doing all of our walkthroughs digitally. And the great thing about that is we're able to really aggregate a great deal of information very quickly. Not only are we able to provide teachers immediate feedback, but we're also able to begin looking at school-wide trends that are developing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I'd like to walk through each of these areas so that we can kind of look at the areas in the rubric that I think we're working on and the areas that we're successful in. At this time, it looks from looking at our setting instructional outcomes component, we see that teachers are doing a really good job with that for the most part. They're definitely in the higher bands on that as far as receiving, high ratings there. The one area that I think we really need to focus on, though, is differentiated instruction. By referencing lesson plans and other things that our teachers are doing, I'm noticing more that teachers are focusing on students with accommodations and not really thinking about differentiation for the entire classroom. So I'd like them to expand that and become more inclusive and do activities that are going to allow every student to have those opportunities.
Mr. Nikes, earlier we talked about differentiation as a need in your school. Of course, it's a need in every school, but since we're talking about middle school students and teachers, I would really like to see the differentiation that could happen within your school. Sure. Can you reflect on some of the things that you've talked about
Sure.
and how you can specifically make that differentiation part of your schools?
Absolutely.
Your school's culture.
Right. One of the areas that I have provided specific feedback to teachers during their walkthroughs individually on differentiation, but I'm really seeing this as more of a school-wide issue. So we were going to have to expand the focus of that. As I reflected, I really noticed that on my blog or on our school instructional blog, I did not have a lot about differentiation on there.
That's true.
So we had pages and pages of things dealing with management and questioning techniques and assessment, but we really didn't have much on differentiation. So I'm going to really make it my goal in the next few weeks to go and specifically look for good differentiated lessons by our teachers and begin to highlight those on the blog for other people to reference. I also really want to use my memo in the next few weeks to kind of start a series of differentiated instruction type articles to really get teachers to start to think about that through the memos.
That's very good. We do have an upcoming staff development day, and we do have a speaker on differentiation.
Right.
So I think at this time it would be a perfect opportunity for you to initiate that conversation with your teachers, and then have a nationally known speaker come in also.
Great.
I think it would really work well with your teachers. Within the next 4 weeks, though, I would like to ask you to do this. I would like for you to speak with our special education supervisor, and some of the resources that she has may be the resources that you could take into your school. I think that focusing on differentiation is going to help increase that student achievement. So during the next 4 weeks, I'd like to see some evidence of that.
Excellent. And I think we can definitely begin doing some of that training in PLCs. We'll get some information from her. And by doing some training in the PLCs initially, I think that really will lead to a peak when we get that speaker in. So it'll kind of work up to that, and that could be the finale for really getting a good push going.
Since we're talking about differentiation, and after you reflect on it, after we get some resources into your school about it, how will you know that it is making an impact with your teachers? How will we know that it's working for our students?
Absolutely. I think the best way and the fastest way we're going to be able to see this is through our walkthroughs. That's how we identify that we had an issue to begin with. And I think this will be the fastest way for us to also determine if we're successful or not in improving. And the areas I really want teachers to focus on is providing more choices within their lessons, delivery of material in multiple ways to address different learning styles, and also to pretty much provide for different assessments as appropriate. So I think those three things will really be our look-fors, and if we set clear expectations for teachers, I think we'll begin to see clear evidence that they're attaining that. One of the things that I'm definitely going to change is remember to evaluate what's happening with our walkthroughs, and as we continue to provide feedback, remember to look at if there's a whole school-wide issue like differentiation, to not just give specific feedback, but realize there's got to be a second level that we're going to have to start addressing this through small group instruction, through whole group reminders, and we're going to also have to begin looking at things like our instructional blog, providing better examples for teachers on what differentiation is. The biggest issue we saw today or that I've seen in the last few weeks, is that teachers had a misconception of what differentiation is. So we can say you need to differentiate more, but if they have a misconception, we're going to be completely lost. So it's going back and focusing on what exactly is that, what does it look like in practice, and once they have a clear understanding of that, they'll definitely achieve it because they've been able to conquer anything else we've went through.
Our next feedback conversation will be in 2 weeks. The focus for that conversation, again, is Domain 3, which is instruction. But we're going to look to see how the teachers are setting measurable objectives. I'll be looking for your evidence of how you are building teacher capacity to effectively implement those rigorous standards. You may want to bring some examples of lesson plans, please, so that we can examine them to ensure consistent practice and rigorous course content. That is the main thing we're looking for, is that student achievement. You're doing a great job right now. Please continue to focus on our students and their achievement, and I'll be glad to see you in 2 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The best way, I think, to see that this is actually taking place in the classroom is to be in those classrooms. It is our job as supervisors, especially instructional supervisors, to make sure that we are in the classrooms, that we are seeing the work of the teachers and the principal and their instructional staff really happen on a day-to-day basis. I think it's very important that the Compass rubric is allowing us to do that. In years past, sometimes the observations, either supervisor and principal observations or principal and teacher observations, were just done on a very small basis and were not very actionable. I think with our Compass rubric, though, we're looking for the results of our actions. So I think by going into the classrooms more, by seeing Mr. Nikase working with his teachers directly, I think that is where we're going to see the benefit and the impact on student achievement.
Our feedback cycles build our capacity in our school building because we focused everything on the Compass rubric. And by using the Compass rubric, we were able to come up with a common language. We're able to come up with common expectations for what should be happening in every classroom. The same is true for the leader rubric. So they go hand in hand. And we found that, once teachers got over that initial feeling that this is only going to be a twice-a-year observation, this tool's only going to be used to judge me, and once they realize actually we're using this every day to improve our practice, it's really changed the way that our teachers see the rubric and also accept it. We use it not only through our walkthroughs, our peer observations use it. We talk about it in our memos. It's part of our everyday vernacular. So that's really allowed us to, of course we use it during our observations, but now it's just a natural part or a natural component of what we do every day. So when a teacher gets observed, it's more of a, I'm being observed on the stuff that we have implemented every day and that we're using every day, instead of here's that thing that I'm going to have to be observed on. It's just part of our school life. I feel like the conversation went well this morning. I find it very helpful that I have a supervisor who's willing to not only, give praise, but also give specific detail and feedback on things that I can improve upon. We constantly tell teachers, not only are our students lifelong learners, but we are as well. And I feel like I am too. And it's really great to have a supervisor who can give me specific feedback. I can action that feedback, and they're there to help follow up. And when the data comes out and looks different, they're helping me to they help me look at and identify and say, well, why is this different? Or why did it not come back the way we expect? And when we're able to brainstorm and come up with ways to improve. So that's been very helpful.